everyone, and welcome to our IngramSpark101 webinar. You will learn today where IngramSpark, which is part of the Ingram Content Group family of businesses, sits within the supply chain, the different kinds of distribution available to you through Ingram, and ultimately the power of self-publishing. I'm Bailey Yeager, the Senior Manager of Sales and Business Development at IngramSpark. And we're going to start off with who and what is Ingram. So a lot of you have probably heard of Ingram and IngramSpark, but what we're going to talk about is where Ingram as a whole sits within the book supply chain. So for those of you who have heard the phrase supply chain a lot, the supply chain is simply put the sequence of processes that are involved in the production and distribution of a commodity. Ingram in particular acts as a worldwide wholesaler for authors and publishers to sell their content to retailers and libraries, distribution brands, and ultimately consumers. One of the great things about Ingram's reach is that by having a title available through Ingram, you gain access to online.com retailers. So that is inclusive of places like bookshop.org, walmart.com, target.com, amazon.com, a whole wide world of places online where consumers can buy your book. But that's not the only place that Ingram gets you. Ingram also allows you to distribute your content to global and regional bookstores, independent retailers, university bookshops, gift retailers, museum shops, and also libraries all over the country and the world. So I've said the word distribution a couple of times already. So what is distribution? Distribution is the method of which a product makes it from a manufacturer into the hands of an end consumer. And at Ingram, there are a few different types of distribution. There's the traditional full service distribution, there's wholesale distribution, and then there's virtual distribution. So we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about what these three types of distribution are, what they involve, what they include, and some of the requirements for being involved in these types of distribution. We're going to start with full service distribution. These are companies that provide a variety of services on behalf of their customers in an exclusive relationship. The services for full service distribution can range from the more commonly known sales representation directly into stores, libraries, and wholesalers. This is where you have a person going in with a catalog that contains your content and their other clients' content, and they're selling it to their teams, the retail networks that they work with, other wholesalers, and things like that. They also, in full service distribution, sometimes offer warehousing, they provide order fulfillment, and even in some cases, back-end office functions like paying royalties and collecting payments. Now, this sounds like it's the all-inclusive solution, but what we also want to point out is that this is a solution that will vary between providers and does cost additional money on top of your daily operations of your author business or your publisher business. Each provider will expect payments for warehousing your inventory. Even if it's a brand new set of books, they will expect payment for aging inventory fees, fulfillment fees, and then percentage of sales on anything that you sell that they help you in that process with. There are also requirements to be considered for full service. Each full service distributor has different requirements, but some things that they look at are the title counts. Are you releasing a great number of new titles each year? If you aren't releasing new content each year, they typically tend to steer clear of a catalog that doesn't have at least 6 new titles added to it every year. They also look at sales and revenue criteria. They make sure that they're also working with clients who price for the end market, which means a full discount, a returnable status, and the right list price. They also tend to lean towards businesses that have a more traditional publishing infrastructure where they've got a managing editor, a production manager, marketing teams, and things like that. And then they also make sure that the press's brand and audience aligns with the distribution company's brand and audience. One thing that a lot of people don't realize is that for full service distribution, what they do is they help you get your books into bookstores. It is still the responsibility of the publisher to get people into those bookstores and to make people want to buy those books that they have helped you get onto the shelf. So a lot of publishers think that once they're in full service that they don't have to do anything. That's not necessarily the case. So with full service, your job is not done. You still have to be investing a lot in marketing, your social media presence. You have to make sure that if your full service distributor is getting your book into those stores, that you're driving traffic into those stores to pick up that book off of that shelf and ultimately walk it up to that cash register. Another type of distribution is wholesale distribution. This is a model that fits most publishers, independent publishers, mid-sized publishers, where in this particular case, instead of working with a full service distributor, they are working directly with a wholesaler. When you work with a wholesaler like Ingram, your books are made available to be purchased by a large network of retailers and libraries. This is a model where no one is actively promoting or selling your book. It is a more passive model where your book is made available, but the publisher and or author still needs to be driving that demand for that book. It's a much more passive model where you don't have outside sales representation, but you are available to the entire global network that that wholesaler works with. In the case of Ingram, if you're working through Ingram Wholesale, you are accessing one of the largest wholesalers in the world for books. They service over 39,000 retailers and library partners, and that includes brick and mortar stores, web-only retailers, libraries, airport stores. If the easiest way to explain it is they help get books anywhere books are sold. So if you want to be able to sell your book anywhere books are sold, Ingram Wholesale is the place to do it. Anyone who works with Ingram can order, any retailer that works with Ingram Wholesale can order anything available and active through wholesale distribution at Ingram. There are some fewer requirements for working direct with wholesale, but still requirements exist if you want to be someone who works directly with the wholesale company. If you wanted to be a vendor working directly with Ingram Book Company, they do look at product minimums. So you need to have a catalog of product that grows on a regular basis, and you do need to be meeting revenue sales minimums. This varies based on the type of content that you specialize in, the audience that you're going with, but make sure that you are aware that there are minimums. So if you're just starting out with your self-publishing journey, it might not be at that point yet where you would be in consideration to work directly with Ingram Book Company, but that's where something like virtual distribution comes into play. Virtual distribution is a model that removes the need for any physical inventory while still showing your title available and in stock to any vendor that works with Ingram Book Company. Through Lightning Source and IngramSpark, your books are shown with virtual stock to our vendors. The secret there is that while it's showing is always available and always in stock, we don't actually print any inventory until an order is submitted through a retailer or a wholesaler after payment has already been collected from the person buying that book. Lightning Source, which is the print facility that IngramSpark uses. We have facilities in 3 different countries in partnerships with POD printers. POD is short for print on demand. POD printers in 9 other countries, with more coming every year. All Ingram Book Company vendors, those 39,000 retailers, libraries, and bookstores we mentioned earlier, are able to order any POD title enabled for distribution. Global distribution is also an option whenever you do virtual. That is to 12 countries. And again, more being added each year. And the best part is that you have minimal upfront investment Very low risk whenever you start out your self-publishing journey on the virtual path. The requirements for virtual distribution: you need to have print-ready files, you need to have an ISBN, and a valid debit or credit card. It's that simple. We make it super easy and super low risk so that you can still sell your book without having to sign exclusive agreements or invest in a really large print run that you then have to figure out how to sell through. You don't have to worry about paying for warehousing and pick, pack, and ship fees. This is a really low risk, easy start to your publishing journey. So when virtual makes sense for you, that's when you need to make sure that you don't need to manage inventory, when you don't want to worry about warehousing costs, when you don't want to have to try and find your crystal ball somewhere and know exactly how much demand you're going to have and print that many ahead of time. There's no guesswork. Whenever you need a process that doesn't require you to manage and pay for orders to be picked, packed, and shipped every time they need to go from one point to another. When you want to make sure that you are selling your content globally into the distribution and retailer markets all over the world, virtual makes sense. When you need to be able to make edits or revisions to your content at any time, that's when not having an inventory held model really works for you. You don't have to worry about, oh, well, I've got this old edition of the book with the typo on page 17. I need to make an edit, but that means all of these books in inventory need to be recycled. With virtual, you don't have to worry about having outdated inventory. You can make changes and edits to your metadata or your files at any time. And one of the biggest perks of virtual inventory is that you have fast turnaround times. At Ingram, we are able to print a book every 6 seconds. We are able to make sure that your book is available, and not only is it available right now, but we will print it and ship it as soon as possible. With offset printers, you're waiting weeks and even months for your inventory, whereas with print on demand and virtual distribution, you're waiting only days. All of this to say, it sounds like there's a lot of different options with wholesale distribution, full service distribution. And in the case of first-time authors, first-time publishers, people who are just getting started, the best fit really is virtual distribution. And the best way for you to get started there is through IngramSpark. So IngramSpark is really a great tool for you to get access to a global network of retailers in a way that reduces risk and upfront investment. So let's talk about the ease of use. IngramSpark is an easy-to-use platform that lets you manage not just your print books, but your digital books as well, all from one account. You're able to set accounts up in the same day, and then you get access to 24/7 support and help articles. The cost, it's free to open an account. You pay nothing to set up your titles. And with print on demand, you only pay for what you need when you need it. And then whenever it comes to making sales of your title into those downstream markets we've been talking about, those 39,000 retailers and libraries, whenever you make that sale, the only cost there is your 1% of list price on your distribution. So if you have a $10 book, whenever you make that sale through the online or physical retail space, when an end consumer buys that book, if it's a $10 list price, we charge 10 cents of that list price to give you access to that channel. Another great reason authors and small presses and indie presses love IngramSpark is because you get to retain control. IngramSpark is a non-exclusive arrangement, and you control all of your metadata, all of your intellectual property, and you get to make final calls on design, editorial, and ultimately your pricing. You get to maintain control on your pricing, your discounts, and your returnability, and you can change that at your discretion. So, great thing about print on demand is that if you wanted to do a 6-month window where you make your book returnable, or maybe you have it at a higher price, you can change that at any time within your account. You have full and total control from start to finish with IngramSpark. Availability. So a lot of questions that first-time authors, first-time publishers have is, okay, I've got my book, but how do I actually get it into the places where people are looking to purchase books? With IngramSpark, you get to make your book available for sale when you want, and then also have it available for sale in a global market of channels. As a virtual inventory title, you don't have to worry about, okay, I need to get inventory to this warehouse and then they have to make it available. With the click of a few buttons, a virtual inventory title at IngramSpark makes it to .coms and retailers who will always have access to order your books and able to make it available to their consumers within just a few days of your title going live. Another great thing that comes with availability when it comes to IngramSpark and printing on demand is that you don't have to worry about inventory gaps where you run out of inventory one day and then you have to wait for a reprint. And all the while you're just losing demand and sales. There are no inventory gaps with IngramSpark. There are no back order limitations, and there are no supply chain wait times. So you don't have to worry about the 17 different steps in a traditional printing process and delays that might occur at each of those steps. There are less supply chain wait times, less limitations with the availability and the print on demand flexibility that you get through IngramSpark. And then we're going to talk a little bit about reach. We've been plugging a little bit about that global market this whole session, but ultimately one of the biggest things that you can take away from your time today in this webinar is that using IngramSpark plugs you into the same retail network that Ingram offers to distribution brands and the big 5 publishers. We give you the same playing field and put you in the same game as the big 5 publishers. You're competing for the same audience, so you should have the same access. So with IngramSpark, you're getting the right reach to the right places without having to make the same upfront investment that those big 5 players are. You gain access to international sales into the UK, into Australia, China, India, Italy, and even more markets. So regardless of if you have audience members and book buyers in different markets, we help you fulfill those sales there. That also means that you have a broader network to play with things like translations. And we also have a really large English-speaking, English-reading population in each of the countries that we help you get into. So that means that you are accessing 40,000 retailers and libraries and their even larger communities who will be able to order your book. Your ebooks are also going to have access to the largest network of ebook and online retailers. That means that you're not just going to be able to sell to the one book, one sale online.coms, but your ebooks will also be available to library networks like Hoopla and Overdrive. Your ebooks will also be available to subscription services like Scribd. So your ebooks aren't the only part of your Spark journey that will have a broad reach. Your ebooks also get a really large global reach through different models. We also offer the option to distribute into apple.com, and we also offer the option to distribute your ebooks into Amazon. Now, if you already have your ebook in Amazon in a non-exclusive agreement, you can opt out, so you don't have to worry about being pigeonholed there. And at the end of the day, one of the greatest things that we can do is help support you on your publishing journey. When you work with IngramSpark, you get access to industry professionals and services with discounts to IngramSpark users. As an IngramSpark client, you get to have access to discounts with publicity teams, to editorial services, to cover design. As a client with Ingram, you get to benefit from our position within the market where we can actually deliver discounts to much needed services on your behalf. You'll also get access to Ingram's marketing and advertising solutions that connect you to thousands of retailers and hundreds of thousands of consumers. We also have a direct-to-consumer marketing solution called Ingram ID, where we can help you make advertising selections on Facebook, Amazon, Google, where you're going to be reaching verified readers. If you have more questions about Ingram ID, I would encourage you to check it out. You can find it on our website, but ultimately what Ingram ID and our consumer marketing tool allows you to do is not just market to people who like cats. You can market to people who like books about cats. And even better, you can market to people who we know purchase books about cats. So not only are you going to have access to professionals and services, but you also get really great marketing tools where your ad dollars go directly to a book buying community. We also have a great book building tool at IngramSpark where it is free to you. If you have just a Word document, you can use our free book building tool that helps you create a print ready file, and it even helps you design and create a print ready cover. And at the end of the day, we wrap this all up with 24/7 customer support. That's through email, our knowledge base articles, our global support team. So at the end of the day, what IngramSpark does is provide you a great service, but also helps support you along the journey of self-publishing. Thank you so much for joining me today in this webinar. We are so thankful that you are thinking about joining your self-publishing journey with the IngramSpark journey, and we really hope that we get to hear from you soon.